Peter Eliades back with you again. This is a delayed update. We usually do them on Friday after the market closed for the weekend. But we've had computer problems for so long now, and we're slowly ironing them out. And so we put this off until Sunday for a couple of reasons. We'd like to spend some extra time with you today to explain exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it, and also maybe help you out a little bit with our theory of how the market works. In terms of that, for those of you that have been watching these videos, we want to direct you to one of the videos that we made, 4 or 6 weeks ago. If you'll search on YouTube for sine wave / cycle animation, search for that YouTube video. It's only about 5, 6, 7 minutes long, but it will give you a really good idea as to what we look for in the market, what our theory of market price behavior is, and it'll explain to you the movement of cycles combining with perhaps a smooth fundamental line, the results that you see, and then a little bit, very little bit, behind the theory of doing the cycle price projections. For those of you that are technically oriented, I think you'd be very happy to do that. And you might be fascinated by it too, because it always fascinated me how cycles interweave together with basically a straight fundamental line, up, down, sideways, whatever, and it produces a stock chart. And the way to analyze the stock charts is the way that we've been showing you, we hope, and we hope you're fascinated by the results, because some of the results have been uncanny. Let's carry you back to the chart that we showed you, the last update we did on Thursday of last week. This is that chart that you're looking at now. And the chart was done right where the arrow was. So we had a move down, just barely giving a price projection. We showed you that by zooming in on this area right here to show you that we just barely had given that price projection. And that was the end of the day on Thursday. This was the bar for Friday's opening. And as you can see, it looks like it's coming very close to invalidating this red zone, which was the downside projection. When we saw this first bar on Friday, we even thought that if it continued up and above the bar, we would do a special update above these offset lines, I should say, not above the bar, that we might do a special update simply because many people had seen our downside projections and might have been wondering if indeed those had been, the downside projections had been invalidated. So here's what happened. You can see it just missed getting above, and on Friday, the high of the day occurred on the very first bar. We started going sideways and then down, and we actually met this projection and then some, which further longer offsets provided projections for. But the one I want to show you now is the Russell 2000 future, because it was in a very similar situation, but it was really fascinating how the Russell took place. RTY.D, so this is daily only, not the Globex prices. Okay, here's the Russell. And if we count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, here was the last bar on the Russell. And here was the downside projection. This is the last bar on Thursday, right here. And at that point, in fact, the period before, we had this downside projection called for a move down into this area between 1555 and 1550, as you can see. And so we started to rally on the Russell. And when that happens, we go back and look at the shorter term. And let's look at the first two projections given on Friday by the Russell. Here's the first one right here. This was the Thursday close. This is Friday's opening. And look at the projection that was given and look at the price that was hit on the Russell. Exactly up to the upper part of the projection where a decline began and downside projections came. Let's look at the next longer offset for the Russell. same type of thing happened. This was the upside projection, just missed by a tick or two, almost exact. And then you got a downside projection from there. So if you're starting to get the feeling of how we work these projections, especially with the intraday projections, I can't conceive of anyone being more closely on top of price movements very short term than these projections are in terms of giving you guidance for what to look for. So this was the equivalent. Okay, this is the bar, the last bar on Thursday. The downside projection had been given, and then immediately on Friday, prices started up. They reached this projection zone from the shorter term projections, but look what happened after that. Fascinating. Boom. The boom down went to where? The boom down went right exactly inside this initial projection zone that was given at these two bars right here. So despite this rally, and the shorter term offsets caught this rally virtually perfectly, but no further upsides were generated, and that meant you were still looking for the downsides to be met. And indeed, look how in spades the downside projection was met virtually perfectly inside this downside projection rectangle. And from there, we've started up again. I don't know as we generated any upside projections. Let's take a look at that. No, nothing worthwhile here. We did very short term. We had a very quick one, but it was quickly invalidated. But again, look at even on the short term here. Look at this little projection box to the downside when we had the little down move at the end of the day on Friday. Bingo, right into the projection box on the move down, and then prices started up again. So it's truly remarkable what these price projections can do. Let me revert back again to some explanations again. The main reason for doing these updates, as most of you know, I've been in this business longer than I'd like to remember. My initial newsletter went out on July, I can't give you the exact date, but it went out in July of 1975. So that's 85, 95, 05, 15. We're talking 44 years ago, folks. And it wasn't too much after the Stock Market Cycles newsletter first went out in 75, maybe around 10 years later, that we started working with some of the cycle theories of Hurst, J.M. Hurst, and got fascinated by them. And that's where we derived this software from. So we had the theory, the offset theory. It came from Hurst. It wasn't my original creation. But what I did was I took it and like to think that we refined it to the point where we could use it in so many different ways, especially with the intraday projection charts, which we've been looking at with you. They worked remarkably well, and I was excited by it. We got a programmer, we got someone interested in it back in the early 90s, very late 80s, and he did a really nice job with some software for projections, but it wasn't really put together the way that I wanted. And one of the things it could not do, and everyone told me couldn't be done, was to do fractional offsets for intraday charts. Because some of our charts are like 24.2 and 26 and a quarter and whatever. So those fractional offsets are very important, because if you're getting sharp moves up and down, the difference between an offset of 26, 26 and a quarter, 26 and a half, even 26.73, if that's the offset that I calculated should be used. If there are sharp moves up and down, those differences can be significant. So over the last year, in fact, it's almost been a year now, it's hard to believe, I was in touch with an old friend in the business. Those of you that have been around a while know him very well. His name is Larry Williams. And Larry does a lot of software programming in conjunction with some people that work for him. And I had told him what I was trying to do, and he said he'd be on the lookout for someone to help me. Well, he mentioned someone first, and that didn't work out well. But the second person that he mentioned is this gentleman, Stefan Schurman, from Switzerland, who has done this remarkable job with the software. It's not finished yet. Hopefully it will be quite soon, and I know we've been telling you that for a while. And that goes back to the original motivation for doing these updates. These updates are being done because we are so excited with the software, and obviously we want to promote the software, and ultimately we'll be leasing it or selling it, but putting it into your hands so you can do exactly these same kind of projections on virtually any market you want to use them on, whether it be stock index futures or gold or other commodities. You can use it on all of those. Excuse me. So that is the basis of what these updates are all about. They're completely free. We ask those of you that are new to them to subscribe to them. There's no charge involved. You go to the bottom right of your screen, you click on the little red banner. The nice thing about subscribing is when a new update goes on, if you subscribe and then click on the bell that comes with a subscription, that will notify you every time a new update goes on. Some of you, I hope at least, have been waiting for this weekend update, and it has not come on until late. It didn't get on Friday afternoon or all day Saturday because of the computer problems. So we put it on today. We figured you'd have plenty of time for the weekend, the rest of the day Sunday, going into tomorrow to look at them. So that much having been, and please, by all means, let everyone you can know about these. The more people we get, the more motivated we get to be doing these. We'd love to see several thousand people be subscribers and viewers every day. There are technical sites out there that are literally getting thousands of viewers a day. We think with the success of these cycle projections that should be happening here. So we encourage you to tell all the friends you can in and out of the business that might be interested in the stock market to publicize this and tell people to come and see our projections and our software at work. Okay, let's end this whole thing up by going to weekly projection charts. So we've reached the end of the week, and we'll take a look at what we're looking at. This is going to be the S&P cash. So this is a 5-week offset. It gives nominal 10-week projections. Somehow my mouse is let's try this, see if this works. I think this should work now. So this upside projection for the S&P, again, this is a nominal 10-week upside projection. It calls for 30.52.26 to 31.03.40. That projection has been in effect since last week. You can see the crossover here last week. And so we're still looking for that to be met. It's either going to be met or invalidated, and it's got a ways down to go to be invalidated. Now, it would have to get below this 2,900 level in the next week or two to invalidate that upside projection. So we're still looking for that projection to be met. That's the nominal 10-week upside projection. The next one we want to look at is, no, this is not the one actually. This is the one right here. Nominal 40-week projection, and this is a 20-week offset. So the 20-week offset, you'll notice, almost got invalidated here, but we stayed above the lines and now started crawling back towards the projection window. This projection was given way back in towards the beginning of March when we crossed above the offset lines right here. By the way, these offset lines on the weekly charts, we basically only use one offset line. I know you see both the red and the blue offset types here, but because the projection software is set up for 2 offsets, we put in something very, very close, like you put in 40 or a 20-week offset, and then for the second one, you put in 20.001. So these are basically right on top of each other. And the way we get a projection window is we use plus or minus 10%. That was the way the original Hearst projections were done when they used offsets. So that's what this projection is. It was given way back here in March. It calls for at least 31.1261 and as high as 32.8283. We're still waiting for that, And the only thing that can happen with this projection is to be met or invalidated. As you see, to invalidate this one, you'd have to get down significantly over the next couple of weeks, almost depending on when you did it, certainly below 2,900. But in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you'd have to get below 2,800 to invalidate the projection. So there's room for a downside move here. These projections don't tell you you're going immediately up into the projection zone. Okay, let's take a look at the last one we want to look at here, which is the nominal 78 to 80 week projections, which would be an offset of what? Correct, 39 to 40 weeks, the half span of the cycle. This one has been remarkable. Look how accurate this has been since the low in December of 2018. The upside projection was generated. It called for a move to between 2,900 and 3023. The high was made at this bar right here. The high was 2954, right in the heart of the projection zone, almost exactly at the midpoint of the projection zone. We had a little decline, just a relatively small one for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, coming into this low. Guess what? Look at the projection down here. The projection called for 2744.78 down to 2698. The low for this move to the downside, 2728 and a fraction. So right down into the heart of the projection zone. And from there, the move started to the upside again. What did it call for on this upside move above the offsets? It called for a move to between 3,009 and change and 3071, rounded off to 3072. What did it get up to? Here it was, the high of 3027.98. Again, right in the heart of the projection zone. So we have no new projections from this offset. The one that we didn't mention was the 40-week, and that one, again, significant moves up to 3112.61 and 3282, almost invalidated but still in effect. That's where we stand at the end of this week. Can we get some short-term sharp moves down from here? We can, but there's nothing predicted yet by the cycle projections. If we start a sharp short-term downside move without invalidating the upside projections, our 27-minute charts will be our saving grace. We'll just revert to the 27-minute charts, take a look at what those downside projections call for on the very short term. So that's it. This has been a long update. We hope you've enjoyed it. We thank you a lot for coming. Please, if you haven't, subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe, and let's get some momentum going behind these updates. Thanks a lot for watching.